Your second book, rather, was claimed as a great feminist book, and the timing was probably...
Well, it had women in it.
Yes.
You know? This was 1972. Yes. Anything with women in it was a great feminist book. You know that.
You've probably seen a film with a sexual assault scene. Films like How to Have Sex, Promising Young Woman, A Clockwork Orange, Kill Bill, Seven, Room, Moulin Rouge, Slumdog Millionaire, A Streetcar Named Desire, Jennifer's Body, and Don't Worry, Darling. The conversation around sexual assault depictions in film is varied and divided. There are a myriad of ways to depict sexual assault, and as filmic rape is diverse, so too are debates that circle around rape more generally. Before looking at specific examples, we need to look at how rape is understood in today's society. Trigger warning! You might have guessed, but I am going to be talking about sexual assault in quite a lot of detail in this video. I'm going to talk about good and bad depictions in film. I'm going to talk about the history of sexual assault, current sexual assault, and its effect on victims. This script for the video comes from a university essay, so all my sources will be listed in the description, and there will also be websites for if any of these issues are upsetting to you or if you'd like to do further research. And I'm also going to list all the films I mention, good and bad. Have fun, I guess, go crazy. Rape has been rooted in sexism throughout history. It only became illegal in the 1900s because it was historically deemed a property crime between men. It was not criminalised because of physical and mental damage done to the victim, but because it was seen as damage to a man's property if his wife or virgin daughter was raped. This ownership of women is reflected in films that view their assault through how it affects their family or husband, like Straw Dogs or The Virgin Spring. In the present day, there is still a rape culture present. But, I don't believe in rape culture, or the gender pay gap, or feminism. And despite all your research, the fact you got a first on this essay in university and that it was marked by industry professionals with hands-on experience and PhDs, I think that I, a random guy, know better. Well, you don't. I do. A recent CDC report found that the percentage of girls reporting that they had been forced to have sex increased from 12% to 14% between 2011 and 2021, a figure at least 3 times higher than for boys.
Right, yeah, you have to be a certain type of woman. Oh, yes, I have this degree, and I'm a lawyer, and whatever, and you know what I mean? It's like society has this stereotype of what a woman is, and it's like if you're not that kind of woman, then you're just not a woman, you're a hoe. So...
A protest called Slut Walk has occurred annually since 2011 in response to a male police officer advising women not to dress like sluts to avoid being sexually assaulted. This advice blames the victim for being assaulted because of their clothes, when the only person to blame is the assailant. This blame culture is reflected in films like The Accused and Promising Young Woman, where women are slut-shamed or victim-blamed. These films mirror an authentic view of how society understands and criticises female rape victims. Some of the first uses of rape in film were for racist propaganda intended to scare white audiences into fearing black men and dismissing black women. In The Birth of a Nation, the film uses actors in blackface sexually assaulting women as a scare tactic. In her book, Women, Race and Class, Angela Davis writes that the myth of the black rapist was a tool used in film to justify lynching black men. It also distracted audiences from the issue of black women being sexually assaulted by white men by creating paranoia around the potential for black men to rape white women. It invalidated black women by portraying them on screen as unrapeable, through being over-sexualised and feeding audiences the messages that they would always consent to sex.
In the way in which they want to, but what happens in many cases, you have police forces unleashed on them because they are peacefully demonstrated. And my position is that we do not stand there and allow ourselves to be shot down and beaten. We have the right, we have the human right to defend ourselves and to defend our principles and defend what we want to do. And so I would say that in the event of violence in a revolution, you always have to see that in the context of defending gains of the people. We have a right to defend those gains.
Although rape in film is not used in this way in modern times, it is indicative of the social context at the time and shows how harmful it can be if used in the wrong way. While rape has been used as a tool for negative propaganda, it can be used to highlight social problems and create an authentic depiction of real-world issues. Using rape as a narrative tool for social justice, rape turns into a rhetorical device, an insistent figure for other social, political and economic concerns and conflicts. A rape scene or plotline can highlight connected social issues. For example, the film Spotlight was inspired by the molestation of young children by priests. It has been described as a damning story about the hierarchy's complicity in protecting abusive priests. The Catholic Church's power made children and their parents inclined to trust priests and to find ways to blame themselves rather than the Church for their own abuse. This raised awareness around the dangers of the Catholic Church and blindly trusting figures of authority. It uses explicit descriptions of oral and manual rape of children. This makes the film more accessible as it does not show any rape on screen, which means a larger audience is able to be educated about the subject. It highlights both the molestation issue with the Church and criticises the Church's absolute and unquestionable power. Men, women, and those that identify differently are all able to be sexually assaulted, but legal definitions of rape in many jurisdictions are not gender neutral. Men cannot legally be raped without penetration. The legal definition of rape only recognises that unconsensual penetration is illegal, therefore dismissing victims who have been raped without penetration. Only men and boys assaulted by other men are recognised, and this is severely underreported. Rape is viewed in society as something which happens to women, so when a male is raped, he is often seen as feminine as a result. Men are either dismissed or too humiliated to report or discuss their trauma. As a result, films often under or badly represent male victims of rape. There are a small number of films that focus on male victims of rape or sexual assault in a sympathetic way. Other than Spotlight, one is Mysterious Skin, where the audience sees two boys molested by their coach through flashbacks and voiceovers. The voiceover distances the viewer from the action because the voiceover acts as a buffer. It mediates the information rather than allowing the audience to engage directly with the disturbing images. This helps the audience cope with hearing about such a traumatic event. The film follows the boys as they deal with their trauma, Neil turning to prostitution and Brian to denial. The film treats this act of rape seriously, showing the audience the different ways trauma can manifest. It also depicts the child molester as a friendly sports coach instead of a monster. This teaches audiences that most child groomers appear friendly to appeal to children and hence may go undetected by authorities and parents. These kind of representations are important. 1 in 53 boys under the age of 18 experience sexual abuse at the hands of an adult. This portrayal of rape is necessary because it can validate victims by making them feel seen and educate audiences by exposing how groomers operate. Unfortunately, most films that depict sexual violence against men use it to create comedy. The humiliation aspect is used to create comedy in films like Horrible Bosses and Wedding Crashers. Pop Culture Detective has a great 2-part video on sexual assault of men played for laughs. Punchlines around men being sexually assaulted usually revolve around the idea of a man being made subordinate to another man and therefore forced into a role that is stereotypically feminine. One of the most recognisable examples of these jokes are about prison rape. This is in countless films, but some examples are 21 Jump Street, Puss in Boots and Airplane. Somehow, punchlines about sexual assault in jail remain acceptable in the majority of media. Rape media surrounding men lacks the sensitivity it has around women or children because of the shame associated with men speaking out. This reinforces the idea to audiences that men cannot be raped, and if they could, it would be funny. It makes light of male rape, which is actively harmful to all men. Unfortunately, rape can often be used erotically in film. It is undeniable that in some audiences there is an ugly desire to watch sexual violence. Some people are aroused by watching sexual assault and rape. You don't have to look at any porn website for long before seeing a video with a coded title and some elaborate plotline to justify making rape porn. The most popular example of this being stuck videos. Ow. I've conditioned myself that I can only get off if it's a video of a girl stuck in a washing machine, pretending to be somebody's stepsister or their actual sister. What am I going to do? No!
Women's bodies don't look like that. We don't come like that. We don't enjoy things that are what it looks like people are enjoying. It got to a point where I couldn't watch anything else, unless it was violent. I didn't think it was attractive, and I was a virgin. I had never done anything, and so it led to problems where, the first few times I, had sex, I was not saying no to things that were not good, and it's because I thought that that's what I was supposed to be attracted to.
For anyone that is blissfully unaware of this type of porn video, it's basically generally a woman will become stuck in some furniture under a bed in a washing machine and will ask for help, probably by someone related to her, maybe not, if you're lucky, and he will come over and become aroused because she's stuck in something, and he will probably have sex with her either before or after he helps her out of her predicament. Consumption of this content not only normalises rape, but sexualises it. Go through one of the comments on these videos and you'll quickly find, "I wish that was me," or "sexual assault is hot" comments. These comments are wild. I'm not sure what's sadder, the fact that people are using porn site comments to vent about their depression, or the fact that they had to make an account to comment it. And why does no one have profile pictures? Come on, in for a penny, in for a pound. And I'm not even going to go into how dodgy Pornhub is. I was in and out of that site to do research. I'm not going to pretend I'm a little angel that's never watched porn, but bloody hell, going through the stuck category was an experience. And I wasn't even watching the videos. I was literally just seeing the titles and the comments and the thumbnails. If anyone's curious, in the stepsister category is a Mandy Flores video, which you can see, you know, it's got some fans behind it, behind this comment. But the interesting thing about that video is that she was playing a stepmom. So she must have really, you know, put some hard work out to you know, she's triumphing in a category she's not even in. So, yeah, I mean, shout out to her. Can't comment on the video personally, but I'm sure by the ratings and the comments that she did some good work. So, yeah, all right. On to the next bit. To fully assess rape in film, we must also consider the cast and crew that have to film these scenes. Filming rape scenes can be humiliating for the actors playing the victims. During filming for The Last Tango, Bertolucci and Marlon Brando surprised Maria Schneider with a rape scene. Schneider knew there was a rape scene, but they told her last minute about Brando brandishing a stick of butter. Schneider was a young actress at the time and was not aware that she was not allowed to say no. This was an instant of real sexual humiliation. Schneider has since said it made her spiral into alcohol and drugs.
But it now turns out that the young actress who played opposite Brando was coerced into making the notoriously graphic rape scene involving butter.
Bertolucci said the butter was used for the sake of a more convincing performance. This reasoning implies he cares more about the performance of an actress than her long-term well-being. Further than that, it shows that he did not trust her to act and abused his power by making the decision for her.
I think that she hated me and also Marlon because we didn't tell her that there was that detail of the butter used as a lubricant. I still feel very guilty for that.
This is a worst-case scenario, but it shows how much a badly filmed rape scene can affect an actress mentally. Most recent rape scenes made have been dealt with the utmost care, and the actors playing victims are made as comfortable as possible. During filming for Into the Forest, the two actors performing the rape scene discussed the scene in detail and verbally agreed on their movements. The crew was stripped down to only essential people, and the actress playing the victim only had to perform the scene twice. This treatment of a rape scene shows that the director cares about the well-being of their actors and crew. This is necessary for any film including a rape depiction. Intimacy coordinator and stuntwoman Devon McNair choreographs rape scenes on film sets. She says that these actresses are playing a vulnerable part and they're half naked, so she's assisting for safety reasons. If a rape scene is necessary, it must be filmed with the utmost care. If a rape scene is damaging to the crew, the negatives outweigh any positives the film could create. The accused gave mainstream credibility to the gravity of rape and thoughtfully portrayed a sympathetic party girl victim. The rape scene emphasised the horror of rape. It had a real positive impact on the public opinion of rape. However, witnessing a rape over and over, as the production crew and editors have to do, takes its toll. It is mentally draining and emotional. Helen McCrory describes how playing the rapist is much harder than playing the rape victim because the rapist has to see himself and be seen by others as a monster. In terms of actors and crew that are negatively affected by rape scenes, many consider it as a public service. If you can make it believable, make people care about the victim, then you've created a better story and honestly shown the horror. This shows that while a rape scene is never enjoyable to film, if it is necessary to the plot, the crew and actors can tolerate it to create a film that can educate about the horrors of rape. The rape revenge genre, sometimes nicknamed Good for Her, can help victims by achieving catharsis while conveying how disturbing rape can be. Rape revenge films are a subgenre which depicts a victim getting revenge for their assault. Until recently, these films were made by men. The new wave of rape revenge films allows women to create films that depict rape authentically.
I think revenge movies are a great field to create a real hero or a real superheroes. And in movies, revenge movies I loved, such as Kill Bill or Mad Max or even Rambo, for instance, it's really the birth of a mythical hero. And I love that. And I love the fact to do it with a character who would be seen at the beginning as very weak and empty because she presents herself in a certain way and would transform in some kind of superheroine who wouldn't, be afraid of anything and anyone. So for me, it was a great field to give birth to such a character.
The tension between catharsis and discomfort is at the core of rape revenge films. In the film Revenge, we see our protagonist Jen pushed against a glass door by a man who's been aggressively pursuing her before the cutaway. The instigative rape happens off-screen, and we see the rapist's friend ignoring the protagonist Jen's screams from the next room. This depiction communicates the violence of the event without forcing the audience to watch the actual rape occur. The audience's engagement with the ensuing revenge is a direct result of our emotional investment in the event. The audience supports Jen while she gets revenge because we have witnessed her trauma. Rape scenes like this convey the violence of rape to audiences, comfort victims through catharsis, and show how a rape scene can be made respectfully without diluting the violence. While newer rape revenge films empower women, older films reduce women's assault down to motivation for the male character. This uses rape to justify violent, toxic masculinity and makes the woman a prop in the narrative, with her rape often serving as her only backstory. In Straw Dogs, the female characters are subordinated to male characters. In the film, a man marries a woman and they relocate to a small rural town. The locals ostracize the man and 2 of them rape his wife. The man then goes out to get violent revenge on the behalf of his wife. This focuses on justifying his violence rather than the trauma of her rape. It echoes the archaic patriarchal trope of the white knight saving the damsel in distress. Feminist author Margaret Atwood describes it as a male fantasy, with the woman being too weak to do anything about her assault. The rape scene could have been a physical attack, murder, or argument. It could be argued that this is lazy script writing, used to support sexist tropes, which focus outside of the experience on the victim and reduce them to motivation for the man, rather than concentrating on their trauma. Alexandra Helen Nicholas describes the feminist paradox between a desire to end rape and a need to represent rape in order to challenge it. Rape in film creates a public discourse that can discourage and educate about rape. Sarah Brzezinski supports this point, arguing that rape scenes in films raise awareness, challenge rape myths, and produce public discussions of rape and anti-rape activism. She points out that outside of creating discussion, it can start activism and educate audiences about procedures after rape. Helen Nicholas concludes that feminists and film critics alike now grudgingly recognise that films are doing more complicated cultural work, and that some representation of rape is required on film. Sexual assault in film is a necessary evil. Depictions of rape in film can highlight social issues, create catharsis for victims, raise awareness of rape including with child and male victims, and encourage activism and discourse around the topic. This comes with the caveat that rape depictions should never be used for hateful propaganda, as an erotic spectacle, for comedic purposes, or as lazy writing. Rape scenes must be filmed with care and caution, as the importance of the well-being of the crew overrides any good the depiction could bring. Rape depictions are necessary to represent victims, reflect life authentically and educate audiences, but depicted incorrectly can be harmful and encourage rape culture.